This is your host, Neelakshi Sengupta. You are listening to Just One Question. There are a few Indian actors who may have worked in multiple Indian languages. But there are even less actors who have worked in both. Multiple Indian languages on one hand and various international languages on the other. Yes, I'm talking of none other than Kabir Bedi. We have him with us one more time to satisfy our curiosity about his working style. Hi Kabir! You have worked in English, Hindi, Punjabi and Italian. Any other languages? How did you train yourself to perform so effortlessly in so many languages? We are very, very curious to know.
In the last 2 years, I've done 6 films in 5 languages. So that was English, Italian, Hindi, Malayalam, Telugu. But really speaking, I am dubbed in the southern languages. But really, the languages I speak are English, Italian, Hindi, Urdu and Punjabi. It's different acting in different languages because obviously there's the language that you're most comfortable in, for me, which is English. But once you are given an assignment and once you have a task to speak this film in Punjabi or Hindi or Urdu, then it becomes part of your training as an actor to imbibe the lines and then use all the techniques of acting that you have. Now, there are actors that have certain schools of thought. Somebody says, I'm a method actor, I'm a Grotowski actor, I'm a this actor. I don't have any school that I belong to. I know a lot of techniques and I use whatever I have to get that shot right at that time, or in the case of theatre, that performance right for that time. Because there are many ways of arriving at how you're going to perform. And there's from the outside in, there's from the inside out, there's all those things. I use a mixed bag of techniques depending on what is required in a scene. Because of course you have to internalize things, of course you have to externalize things in terms of your gestures and movements and follow-throughs. But there is also a process of actually living that moment. You're not just a robot performing something that you've rehearsed to perfection. You have to reinvent that moment somehow. And this is particularly true of theatre. Because in theatre you rehearse something, you get it right, and you go on each night. The challenge is how to keep it fresh. The actor is doing it for the 30th time. The audience is coming to see you for the first time. How do you make it fresh for them? And the only way to do it is to make it fresh for yourself.
Okay.
And the only way to do that is to find new ways within a certain band to perform. I mean, you can't radically change a character, but you can radically change, but you can change the way something is delivered. You can change the emotion you feel at that moment. You can change the pace at which you speak. There's many techniques you can do to keep things fresh, keep them alive. Now, that is a luxury that the theatre gives you, that you can reinvent that performance each night.
Interesting.
In film or television, once you've filmed that process, that performance, that shot, that's the definitive thing. You can go home and lie in your bed and think, I wish I'd done this shot that way. It would have been better, and try and imagine. But that moment is gone. In the theatre, if you have this thought, you can try it out the next day. And that's the great joy of theatre.
This is truly fascinating, Kabir. But I'm still curious. See, every region, language, nation has its own nuances in not only the spoken language, but also in the body language. Want to share something about that?
Well, there are national differences in a very broad sense. You know, the Italians, the Indians tend to use their hands more. Their volume and intonation is much more lively. The British tend to be, as a caricature, more reserved, more express things in a more restrained kind of way. But then there's characters. There's characters in every country. It comes down to the individual. You can have a Brit who's loud and raucous and, you know, more Italian than the Italians. Those are individual characters. So the question is not the nationality you're playing. The question is, what's the character you're playing? And that's what you have to zero in on. Of course, if he's an Italian, you will give him certain Italian mannerisms, you know. If he's British, you will work in certain British aspects to the way he speaks. But ultimately you're dealing with individuals, not broad brushstrokes of countries. And when you're playing a character, you have to remember that this character is as unique as you. There is nobody like him on the planet. And therefore, the important thing is to work out what you must not do, and within what's allowed, or what he can do, that's your playground for finding ways of expressing the character.
Wow, this is such an interesting topic to explore. Thanks, Kabir, for leading us into that path. I'm sure our audiences here will also become a lot more aware of the different ways an actor thinks and works, and in turn appreciate his work so much more. It has been a wonderful journey with you, Kabir. Much appreciated. And on that note, I shall take your leave. Thank you again. This is Neelakshi Sengupta, and you have been listening to Just One Question.